Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. I'm trying to figure out if I can get my video working. Um, Let me see. Maybe not. Okay. I think I have it now. And hopefully you guys can hear me okay. They didn't get me, I'm here. All right. So, and the bear market blues continue, right? Let's might as well call it what it is. Not pretend like things are overly bullish when they're not. But I mean, I think that again, the bearish phase will present an opportunity for people, especially those that felt like they missed the boat on Bitcoin going to 100K, and then now it's like, well, I mean, with the valuation of Bitcoin going down, you sort of get to put your money where your mouth is and say, well, were you actually upset that you missed it, or were you just upset that it was doing something that you didn't think it was going to do? I would say, I would personally say, again, bearish phases in the market, historically, anyways, represent opportunities, not things that you really should get so worked up over. I mean, with that said, I've been honest with you guys for months now that I speculated that we were entering into a lull in the market here. Now I guess the main question is, well, when are we going to pick back up? Because right now it certainly doesn't look overly optimistic. I mean, and we can go through maybe what are the things that, some things that might look optimistic, some things that don't. I mean, I think the one of the silver linings so far is that, well, we're actually still not, we still haven't fallen below this range yet. Okay, so that might be the silver lining so far, is that we haven't fallen below it yet. But the point is to say, well, even if we do, I don't think it's that big of a deal. We've said before, unlikely that Bitcoin's going to go to these crazy valuations this year. We need a little bit of extra, we need more time, and I think we're going to get that. So right now, Bitcoin still remains, somewhat in a downtrend. Okay, if you're more optimistic, or if you're a more optimistic person, maybe you would call this an accumulation, or not accumulation, sideways. If you want to be a little bit more optimistic on how we talk about it, but it's more or less been in a downtrend for a while now, and it certainly calls into question how long will it take for things to recover. I think that, as I said a couple months ago, a 3 to 6 month phase is what I think we need, at least. And again, that doesn't mean we have to have new all-time highs in 6 months. I just think that things will be bearish for that 3 to 6 month window, which, by the way, now is 1 to 4 months, because I said 3 to 6 months 2 months ago. So now it will be 1 to 4 months is generally where I think, how long I think things need to stay bearish. So the best case scenario that I could imagine would be that things just, go back into an accumulation or more obvious sideways move in the next month. That would be sort of the most bullish case. A more realistic case would probably not planning to schedule your Forbes interview for the next several months, okay? And just recognizing that we have to get through this phase of the market before we can definitively trend up. Another thing that you might see talked about in the future is this area up here. Some people might assume that this is going to be a very hard region to break whenever we do go back up, which again might not even be this year. It might not even be this year when we go back to 60K. But remember, Bitcoin has a way of just slicing through things a lot easier than people think it will. If you remember back to 2018, there were a ton of people that said that 6K would offer a crazy resistance because of how long we spent in that area. And then when we went to 6K, I mean, it was just like we went above it like it wasn't even there, right? I think it wasn't even there. So I wouldn't necessarily put too much weight on what people might say are future resistance levels and whatnot, because again, when the momentum returns, that momentum can just it can just shoot you up. It can shoot you through what people told you prior resistance levels were. What I sort of see this as being so far is, I mean, we've sort of paved the way for 100K. Okay, we've sort of paved the way for it. We've gone all the way up to over 64K. From 64K, you don't even need to go back up that much in terms of a percent to even make it to 100K, right? You don't even have to go up that much. About 50% or so, about 50% to get to 100K from that price point. But anyways, I mean, that's still a ways off, right? We have plenty of time before we're actually going to get to that phase of the cycle when we're back up at these levels. Okay, we have plenty of time. It's funny that we ended up having like 4 peak. This is like the 4 peak mountain up here. The first peak was at 58.3, so 58,300 or so. The second one was at around 61.7K. This one was around 64.8, 64.9, and then this one was around 59.8K. So we had our 4 peaks so far that I'll have to overcome one day. We showed a video about this yesterday. We can at least pull back up our bull market support band. Again, if you want to be pessimistic and call it bear market resistance band. But for now, the 20-week SMA is at 45,228. The 21-week EMA is now below 40K. So the 21-week EMA is now at 38,974. And so, until my main concern, I think, is, well, one concern is whenever we do have a move up, I think there's going to be some people that assume that it has to be taking us to all-time highs. And I would just remind you that in order for us to really have a way to do that, we need to get above the 20-week, probably come back down. And then at least if we hold it as support for a while, I think it would at least provide the confidence for the bulls to take it to 100K. If we don't actually hold it as support, then I think the confidence is not necessarily there. It's similar, and by the way, that's not a specific price point. The 20-week SMA could be 30K by the time that happens. It could be 40K. It just doesn't really matter. If you look at prior moves by the price of Bitcoin with respect to the 20-week, anytime we break it and then don't actually come back and hold it, actually test it, we end up falling below it pretty quickly. Okay, we move above it and then we just fall below it. If we go above it and then we actually test it as support and hold it, that's usually what leads to these types of moves. Okay. So even if we go up, just recognize that is where is the line in the sand to keep an eye out on. And you can go above it, but you need to come back down and then actually test it. The 50-week is sort of the most optimistic viewpoint, I think, is looking at the 50-week. So if you wanted to try to be optimistic about the current market conditions, then maybe you would hold on to the idea that a lot of times Bitcoin has flirted with the 50-week, and then it is seen after flirting with it from the 50-week, it is seen, a 40% move, or over here, say like a 50% move, or if you go back even further and look at, say, like this one, a 70% move or so. So that would probably be the most optimistic viewpoint. And you might look at this and we'll say, well, Ben, right now the 50-week is actually above the current prices. It is, but we also know that this could always end up being a wick and that people sort of ignore it. Kind of like how we went below it before, but now people don't even really recognize that as being that significant. So that might be the most optimistic view on the market at the moment. A more pessimistic view would be to draw some lines in the sand, right? And to just say, well, we don't necessarily have to go up from here. I mean, depending on how you want to draw some of these lines, whether you want to draw it like this and just say, okay, well, we're sort of generally trending up, right? We're generally trending up here, and we had a period where we, a boom in the market, and then a bust, and then again back up, and then back down. And so that would be sort of more of a pessimistic view to draw lines in the sand. The problem, the main problem that I find with drawing lines in the sand, and I see this all the time, is really you can draw it. You can draw the line to tell whatever narrative you want to tell. I mean, honestly, you can. Like, this line looks like a pretty good line, does it not? Like, I mean, it seems like a relatively good line. You just sort of ignore the pandemic drop, and it looks like a good line. But you could also easily draw the line to look like this, couldn't you? I mean, fairly easily you could draw it to look something like that and say, okay, well, it rode up this right here. We then held this as resistance. We then held it as support, and now we're sort of back in the bearish times. So then you might look at this and we'll say, well, if you want to draw the imaginary line like this, then maybe drawing sort of like a parallel line over here, or something that looks close to parallel, probably not even exactly parallel. I don't even know if you could try to finagle these in a way that look like they're even remotely parallel. But you could look at this and say, okay, well, if we're up here, things are getting pretty bullish again, okay? But if we're down here, then just, assume the market's bearish, right? Assume the market's bearish. But anyways, that's the problem generally with drawing lines in the sand, is you can obviously draw them any way you want to tell the story that you want, and you can do so with just a subtle shift in the line. If we pull up our regression bands, okay, if we pull up our regression bands, where are we now? Well, the upper regression band is now, again, it's over 100K. Okay, it's over 100K. So again, I've always been a little bit more conservative in the price predictions. I think, if you press me for a range, I would say 120 to 140 by 2023, right? That's what I would say. But obviously these models can be broken, so I don't want anyone thinking they can take these things to the bank. So the top one is at 100K. This one now is at 68K. So we would have to go back to 68K just to get back in our regression band. Okay, we'd have to go back to 68K just to get back there. There might be some people curious, well, what would we have to go to hit this one again? Because one thing we've talked about too is, when you look at Bitcoin, there's more obvious times to take profits, and there's more obvious times to buy. And historically, the more obvious time to take profits is when we're near the regression band on the upside. Okay, so let's just look here. So historically, right, it makes more sense to take profits when you're up in this region. And it makes more sense to accumulate like a madman when you're in this region. Okay? But then you get phases where, okay, well, what about this? I mean, sort of provided a second chance before another leg up. Sort of in no man's land right now, right? So it's not, I wouldn't say that it's an obvious move one way or another. I mean, obviously up here I was bearish, and I said, our market cycle ROI is ahead of schedule, and that we need it to pull back in the market. Down here, maybe you want to take a more neutral stance. Okay, maybe a more neutral stance makes sense to say, well, I mean, we're sort of in between. Down here would be an overly bullish stance, right? So I mean, if you want it to be black and white, it could just be like, super bullish when it's down here, super bullish down here, bearish up here, and then in the middle, neutral, where you just say, well, I mean, it could go either way. It could go either way. And this way, when the prices are moving down, this makes a whole lot of sense. But when the prices are moving up, and whenever we come back up to our upper regression band, that's when people typically say, okay, well, the model's going to break. But again, if you just always remain super bullish in this region, super bearish in this region, and neutral in this region, and what do how would neutral, what would that mean for you? Well, I think it probably just depends on your own circumstances, right? Like if you believe in Bitcoin, you believe it's going to trend up with time, then maybe in between you're neutral bullish. Or if you're, let's say you're 65 or 70 and you really just want to make sure you have enough for retirement and you don't want to go gamble all your money, because maybe you're retired and it'll be harder to pull in a ton more if you're already retired. Then maybe you would just be neutral bearish when it's in this. So bullish, bearish, and then neutral. And then the neutral can sway whichever way that you personally would want to sway in the market. But anyways, we'll continue to keep an eye on things. Remember, so far we're not even below the range that we've been in, right? We're not even below it. We've came to this price on May 19th. We were at this price on June 22nd, as well as June 26th, and then again on July 19th. So the downtrend so far, I'm still waiting to some degree for a clear momentum shift in the market, which we still have not seen, right? We still have not seen a clear momentum shift in the market. So far, just as we said, when things are going up, they're more likely to keep going up than not. So far, things have continued going down. And until there's a more obvious momentum shift, then, I wouldn't be surprised if the valuation is still, a big lull in the market, right? I wouldn't be surprised by it. Now, I know a lot of people are really big on the whole, Wyckoff accumulation stuff. I honestly, I don't really know how useful it will be. I mean, I imagine for some people it will prove more useful than others. I'm not someone that thinks that it has to play out like that. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that one way or another it has to obey it or not. I know the main problem I see with Wyckoff accumulation is that people keep on stretching out the time frame as to which they're applying it. So, at first people were doing it over, say, the 1 hour time frame, then they made it the 4 hour, then they made it the 1 day time frame. So I think that as long as you give it a reasonable time to be comparable to the distribution phase, it might make a little bit more sense. But I think what doesn't make sense is to, back over here when people were using the 4 hour chart to plot out Wyckoff accumulation, when the distribution phase, if you want to call it, took place over many, many months. Okay, so that's generally what I would say about that. I've gotten a few questions about that over the last few weeks. I'd say if you think that if you think it's going to play out like that, I would assume that it's going to play out over several months, not several days or even several weeks. I would assume those patterns are more so meant for much longer time frames. And even then, if we end up going down, back to the 20 to 30K level and spending some time there, then people are just going to call this a redistribution phase, right? A redistribution phase. And I've tried to be pretty open with what I think things are. I mean, back over here when we were at 10K, a lot of people back then were calling it a distribution phase, and I said I don't think so. I think it's a reaccumulation phase. We went up, and then it was sort of like I told you so, and then we went right back down. And that's when we tested the bull market and the bull market support, and we had to say, okay, well, this is the time. If we hold it as support, we should generate some momentum for the bull market. Fortunately, we were able to, and the rest is history. Now, several months later, a year later, basically, we've entered into a downtrend. One of the things I posted about in the video yesterday, which I think is somewhat interesting, is we just had 2 red candles in a row, and we just started a 3rd candle, and so far it's red. The candle opened up at 31,789. I thought it was interesting that if you go back to find the last time we had 3 red candles in a row, which we don't even know yet if this one's going to be red, you would actually have to go back to that phase of the cycle. Okay, you'd actually have to go back to June of 2020 to find 3 red weekly candles in a row. It's somewhat crazy to think about that over the last year, from July of 2020 till July of 2021, we did not have 3 red weeks in a row. That's crazy to think about, honestly. Like it really is crazy to think about. And at that time, we actually had 4 in a row. Okay, we actually had 4 in a row back in June of 2020. Now we're in July of 2021, and you can see obviously things are red again. But things were very green heading into the end of 2020. Let's take a look here. So you can see, I mean, Bitcoin's down 8%. Obviously, you would expect altcoins to be down more. It's the phase of the cycle we're in. Ethereum's down 13%. This Binance Coin's down 12%. ADA's down 16%. XRP's down 12%. Doge is down 18%. DOT's down 24%. Uniswap's down 23%. Bitcoin Cash is down 14%. Litecoin down 17%. So what you'll notice is that, well, I mean, Bitcoin is down the least. Makes sense, right? I mean, we're below the 20-week. Bitcoin's turning sideways, slash down. So that makes sense. Remember, Bitcoin's king, and even when things are going down, you can pretty clearly see that Bitcoin is king, because it's not losing quite as much as some of the other cryptos. So remember, a lot of altcoins leave you more room for upside potential when things are going up, but when things are going down, they tend to bleed a lot more than Bitcoin. And so this is a great example of that. Okay, this is a great example of that. I'm just now remembering I never actually posted a great example. So let me actually do that really quick, because I never actually informed people I was streaming. It might be useful to tell people. I guess some people would have just gotten the notifications. Remember, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. The problem, the problem with, I think, the problem with the perma bulls is that they don't necessarily account for, a lot of retail investors, right? Because they say things that you basically, make sense, right? I mean, like, I agree with a lot of what they say. I agree that Bitcoin will trend up with time. I agree that, even if you bought at 60K, eventually it will bail you out. But I also think that, that telling people to just keep buying at 60K when it was up 20x in 14 months, is a little bit short-sighted, because you're essentially arguing that something has to keep pace with the prior cycle, which we mentioned many times that it very likely would not do. Maybe now is a good time to show you where we are. I mean, I know that I show this a decent amount, but I think it's useful to get an idea of where we could be in the cycle, and again, to recognize that we will not keep pace with the last cycle. I mean, we spent months saying that. So I'm not trying to say, see, we told you so. We're more just trying to say, like, look, this was evident from the beginning, and so just because the price is going down now, it really isn't that unusual. Like, this was more so expected. Like, it was more so like the path of least resistance was for us to have this lull in the market, because in order to keep pace with the prior cycle, it was going to have to do things that didn't really make a whole lot of sense, because I think a lot of people don't account for the fact that it's a lot harder to move the market cap at a full cycle later. Okay, you just if you don't account for the fact that the market cap's a lot harder to move, then you might assume that it can just keep pace with the last cycle. But as we said, this was always the path of least resistance, was to actually go below the last cycle in terms of the market cycle ROI. And honestly, I'm getting a bit more comfortable, right? I'm getting a bit more comfortable with where Bitcoin is. Am I confident enough to say that 30K is the bottom? No. I'm not confident enough to say that 30K is the bottom. I think there could be more downside, but I'm becoming more confident in where we are in the cycle and to recognize that things were overheated. And we showed this before, right? We said that just because we were ahead of cycle 2 at one point was not evidence that we would keep pace with it. In the same way, just because we were ahead of cycle 3 was not sufficient evidence to prove that we would keep pace with it. So now that we're below it, a lot of people are getting really upset. But again, I would contend, as always, that the evidence was always there to suggest that the returns are going to diminish. Not only that, they're also going to lengthen in time. And so the idea that this was just going to keep pace and go to 300K by the end of the year was always extremely unlikely. Okay, so it's my guess that that if you are hoping for a 300K by the end of the year, the valuation of Bitcoin will likely be closer to 30K than 300K by the end of the year. This is my guess, okay? Now, could that mean it's at 50K? Yeah, I mean, it could be at 50K, could it be at 20K? But I would say that it's more likely to be off by an order of magnitude than to be right. I think it's, I think those predictions are going to be off by close to an order of magnitude. Okay, it doesn't mean it has to be 30K. It could be 40K. It could be 20K. It could be 50K. But I don't think that we have any chance of going to to 300K by the end of the year, which is what we would need to do if you were to believe the the 4-year cycle type stuff, right? The idea that we have to just keep putting in 100x returns every cycle just because the last cycle did it. My main contention always has been that the 4-year cycle, the only 4-year cycle was the last one, right? The only 4-year cycle was the last one. The ones before that were not 4 years. And so that's always been my contention, is that the only 4-year cycle was the last cycle. The other ones were not 4-year cycles. So then I think the next question then becomes, well, how do you reconcile that with the halving, right? How do you reconcile? I think that you can't expect Bitcoin to just have a bull run every single halving for the next 100 years. Like I don't think that's going to work out so well. But I do think that the halving does have a way of bringing renewed interest to the market. So I think that you get a lot of headlines, that kind of stuff, the upcoming Bitcoin halving. Like I'm not going to say it doesn't affect things at all, because I think it does have some effect, right? I think the halving does have some effect. I think that future halvings, though, maybe the next one, but I would say if not the next one, then definitely the one after that. I think that they might just help curb the effects of bearish times rather than necessarily catalyze the next bull market. So the next halving, it's still possible that it catalyzes some type of major move in the market. But I don't think we can keep taking that halving immediate move to the upside to the bank, from here on out for the next 100 years. So if the cycle does extend out, like I think it will, for several years, then you might say, well, what about the 2024 halving? Well, maybe the 2024 halving just helps diminish the effects to the downside. Maybe that's what it does. I don't know, or something close to it. But that's just sort of some dubious speculation. Obviously, we have years to confirm where we are as we enter the halving, because again, it's not for another like 2.5 years. Okay, and then I guess we can look at the regression rainbow. That's Ethereum's. Let's look at Bitcoin's regression rainbow and see where we generally are. So again, we spent most of our time of our accumulation phase. So this was, I would say, this was the main accumulation phase, okay? And like in this range. And it's funny because when we left this range, I said, all right, guys, it's no longer a clear-cut accumulation phase. The problem with, the problem with crypto Twitter, especially, is if you say, okay, we're no longer in our coveted accumulation range, then anytime it goes up, they just say, oh, you said we were done. No. So this is the main accumulation range that we were in for a long time. And then, we entered into a little bit more dubious waters that we knew we could ascend because we've ascended them in the past. And then we came up even one more. What's interesting is if you look at at this, like, okay, so during this accumulation phase, we actually came up to this one in 2019 and then back down, okay? And then we came back up to this one, and now we're coming back down. If we were to come back to, say, this one right here, it would actually correspond to around 25K. So if the valuation of Bitcoin were to go to 25K, it would actually correspond to that regression line, which we've hit a number of times in the past, right? We've hit a number of times in the past. Something to just keep your eye out on in the event of a continued move to the downside. I know a lot of people think that 25K is going to happen. So if it does happen, then that would correspond to to this imaginary logarithmic regression line. Okay. But again, right now we are continuing to dwell on cliffs. We're still not below 30K right now. We're actually right above it. We're at 30,758. We are still in a downtrend, of course. I think one thing that we need to keep an eye on in terms of trying to get out of this downtrend is one thing we can look at again is the RSI, the daily RSI. Okay, so the daily RSI shows you the strength of all of these moves. Okay, and again, when thinking about like a 3 to 6 month bear market as of 2 months ago, so now I would say 1 to 4 month bear market as of because it was 2 months ago when we said that. So 1 to 4 more months. Looking at this, we still haven't really broken out of this. So in the daily RSI, we've been continuing to put in lower highs. And what's interesting is, the local top RSI actually corresponded to 42K, but that was a really strong move. The next move was a little bit weaker, even though the price was higher. And then the next move was even weaker, and then even weaker, and then this was where it started to turn around, an even weaker move. And you can see that all of these moves corresponded to lower highs on the RSI. Okay, we're just continuing to put in lower highs. And so, until we actually break out of that downtrend, then I think we're still bearish, right? We're still fairly decisively bearish. One day, I think we'll break out of it, and then we probably won't just go straight up immediately, is my guess. Like, we'll probably spend some time playing in the sandbox where we're no longer in a downtrend against the daily RSI of Bitcoin, and then hopefully we can continue, move back into some type of other trend. Where we continue to push higher and higher. But right now, again, we are in a fairly convincing downtrend with respect to, say, like the daily RSI. Okay, a fairly convincing downtrend, and we're just waiting to see if we can break it. Right now, in order for us to break the imaginary line in the sand, we would need to go to a daily RSI of around 46.33. Right now, we're actually at 36.81. So even if we move back up right now, we still have a ways to go to push out of it. Every single rally over the last several weeks, all of these have been, they've been pretty non-spectacular. The major one, I think, that stands out is this one, right? The one that took us to 41K. But even that one, the daily RSI still was a lower high, right? Even if you want to compare it to this one, which didn't even make it back to the trend line. And then these other moves continue to get shot down and continue to get shot down. And then if we sort of just draw a line here and look at our downtrend, then we could go back up to what, 34K, and still be still be in this daily downtrend. So let's look at the market for what it is. Let's say it's bearish, right? The market is bearish, but again, as I've always maintained, bull markets make you money, bear markets make you rich. The people that stick around for the next couple of years and beyond that, right? I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere, but the people that actually stick around for the long haul are the people that have the most to gain. I'm not going to feed you hopium and tell you to buy, to buy at 60K a few months ago, because that's just not like, I'm not going to try to convince you to buy it when it's in the upper regression band. Right now, it's in the neutral territory. Okay, so like we're sort of in no man's land. Again, we're sort of in no man's land. Again, looking at the regression bands. We remain in no man's land. We don't have to go back down to the green regression band, but we always could. Right now it would correspond to going back down to around 21K. The one in 2013 didn't go back down to it, right? We sort of we played in the sandbox around $120 for about 6 months, okay? So I'm never going to tell you that you should be FOMOing into Bitcoin when it's in the upper regression band, okay? Anytime we're down here, I think it represents a crazy opportunity. And anytime we're here, I think it's a little bit more neutral. The only reason, the main reason I was leaning bearish, I've been leaning bearish for so long, and we said it seems like a bear market, is because we had a weekly close below the 20-week. Okay, we had these weekly close. I mean, this continues to be a downtrend. Okay, so I don't want to say I think that things are really bullish when I believe they're not. At the same time, we have come down over 50%. I think the main thing that would make me extremely bullish would be one of two things, right? One of two things. If we get another dump to 20K or something, then I'd probably get extremely bullish on Bitcoin. Or if we continue chilling at 30K for a while, right? If we just continue chilling at 30 to 40K for a number of months, and we just keep staying range bound between 30 to 40K, I'll probably start to get, I'd probably start to say, okay, guys, if the 20-week comes down, to the 30 to 40K range, and then at some point we're able to get above the 20-week SMA between 30 and 40K, and then hold it as support, then again, I think that's the time to get potentially bullish and say, okay, now it's time for 100K Bitcoin, right? Now it's time. But when we're in a downtrend and we're basically putting in new lows, on say daily closes and whatnot, I don't think it's time to say, okay, we're about to go back up. So I would say those are the two main things. Either look for a major capitulation event, or look for us really grinding the gears for months to come. Similar to 2013, in fact. And it'd be similar to 2013, where we just grinded the gears for from May until October, November. Grind the gears from May until November, and then maybe that's time to get bullish again. Right now, when you're sitting in July and we've been in a downtrend for the last 2 months, I don't know. I think I'm not gonna get overly bullish yet on Bitcoin. But let's just continue to take 1 week at a time, and we'll see the 20-week continue to come down. So the 20-week SMA right now, again, is at just over 45K. Remember, though, because we're replacing these candles with ones that were at 20, or that were at 50 to 60K, we are going to be bringing the 20-week SMA down relatively quickly, because the difference in the valuation here is around $30,000. Okay, so you're looking at what, $1,500 per week or something like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, because $30,000. So if the difference between 60K and 30, and we're replacing it with 30K, the difference there is $30,000. And since the 20-week SMA is 1/20th of basically of any given week, because it's an average of 20 weeks, 1/20th of 30K is $1,500. So you should more or less expect the 20-week SMA to be dropping by approximately $1,500 per week. So if the valuation right now is around 45K for the 20-week SMA, so it's at 45K, if you're talking about dropping around $1,500 per week, then in 4 weeks you've dropped $6,000. So in about 1 month, so by mid-August, assuming we're still down at these levels, then the 20-week SMA will actually be less than 40K. Okay, it'll be less than 40K. In about 1 month, we would expect the 20-week SMA to be less than 40K at these price levels. Otherwise, if it's 2 months, it would be closer to say 35K or somewhere in that ballpark, maybe close to 35K. And then at some point, right, we want to get above it, hold it as support. I would say this: the next time Bitcoin gets back above the 20-week SMA and holds it as support for a number of weeks, then I think it's time for us to go to 100K. That's when I would get super on board with it and say, hey, time to go, pack up the bags. Let's load. The mission's about to take off. For now, we need time, and we need lots of it, lots of time. Okay, lots of it. If we look at some of the moving averages, and you can see we're below the 50-week. If you're curious, the 100-week is at 20,000, actually 20.4K. Remember, if you guys like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Also, we have a Telegram channel, over 44,000 people. I would recommend you guys check it out. I'll put it in the chat. Remember, I will not message you first. There's a lot of scammers out there, so if you get a message from someone pretending to be me, ignore it. And if you're afraid you're gonna fall for those types of scams, then don't join the Telegram, right? Don't join it, because I don't want you to, to fall into these scams and whatnot. Also, we do have the premium list if you want to know how I am navigating these markets. All right, maybe we can take some questions. See if we have any questions. Yeah, also we do have ITC stake pools. We have the Avalanche and Cardano stake pools. You can find information on that at staking.intothecryptoverse.com. We're actually probably going to launch another stake pool soon for another crypto, so be on the lookout for that. Maybe you guys already know what it is, but we're probably going to launch one relatively soon. We also did give away an NFT. We gave away an NFT for the premium members. You can find that at nft.intothecryptoverse.com. Armin says, activate Super Chat. I want to donate $100. No, just go invest your money, right? I don't want your tips. Just go invest your money. If you invest your money, or even if you put it in stable coins, right, and earn interest, right, that's not a bad thing. And then you'll have more money later, right? So either go invest it or invest it. I would say invest it. I think super chats. I think the idea of super chats where you get paid to just answer a few questions is. Yeah, I mean, come on. We don't really have time for that. I'll try to answer your questions, but we're not gonna go the tip route. Remember, we do not have AdSense enabled. I do not make you guys watch ads. I do not post affiliate links, and I do not take paid promotions. So I'm sure as hell not gonna turn on super chat. All right, let's see. What questions do we have? If you guys have any questions, let's just try to get through them. Okay, it's going through. I need to pause the chat here so I can actually see it. Do I have any thoughts on the stock market sell-off today? Not really. I mean, it's. I'm guessing it's people. I mean, yeah. It's down. It's down 2% almost. I mean, this. It was up a lot. I mean, we know it's overheated, but it doesn't mean this macro run isn't going to continue. No major thoughts on it. I do talk more about stocks and stuff on the premium channel and whatnot, but no major thoughts on it. Yeah, someone says I don't take any paid promotions as well as not paid promotions as well. This is true. If you guys want to hear a funny thing, like a lot of people will message me asking me to do a paid promotion for their, for their bullshit ICO, and I'll just say no, I don't take paid promotions. And then like 50% of the time, then they'll say like, oh, well, we're not going to pay you. And then I say, well, I don't take unpaid promotions either. But I just think it's funny that there's people out there that just want I can understand why some people might want paid marketing, but the idea that you would get free marketing when someone turns down paid marketing is kind of ridiculous. Everything I show you guys, any person I bring on to the channel, I think they're worth bringing on. I'm not getting paid for it, right? I just think they're valuable to have. Okay, so I don't want my words paid for it. We've done no paid promotions here. So just remember that, right? So again, all the projects, I believe in them. If I talk about them, I believe in them. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. Okay, let's see other questions. Have I talked to Michael Saylor lately? No, we did. I mean, we did the video about 2 to 3 weeks ago. So I mean, if you guys want to go check out that interview, you can. he's obviously more, I would say, he's more Bitcoin maximalism than I am. I mean, I think that at key phases during the cycle, altcoins make sense because they can give you higher returns than Bitcoin. But I also recognize that Bitcoin is king and that a majority of your portfolio should probably be in Bitcoin. So we don't necessarily see eye to eye on that. But again, I mean, don't take it up with me, right? Take it up with the data. The data shows many times that having some altcoins in your portfolio, your risk adjusted, it's not even just your returns are better, but your risk adjusted returns are better when you account for volatility. So the data backs me up, right? I mean, even if you just want to look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, the data backs up that a portfolio with Bitcoin and Ethereum over the macro scale does better than a portfolio with just Bitcoin. Again, it suggests you have more Bitcoin than Ethereum to help hedge against the downside risk of Ethereum. But nevertheless, despite the fact that Ethereum is bled at one point from $1,400 to $80, it still is volatile enough to merit a position in your portfolio. Now, the only question then becomes, well, when do you buy it, right? Because you don't want to buy it at the local top. If you were here for the Ethereum tsunami, that's not the time to buy Ethereum. Okay, go look at all the videos we did. We did a video for Ethereum back in you remember when it was at $200? We call it the accumulation phase of a lifetime, and then at $400. We called it the accumulation or the regression band for Ethereum. If you guys remember, we made a video over here. Said the accumulation phase of a lifetime. Over here, the reaccumulation phase of a lifetime. Over here, the overvaluation reaccumulation phase of a lifetime. The Ethereum tsunami is not the time to load up on Ethereum. Okay, it's not. If this is the overvaluation phase of a lifetime, how is this? I mean, what is this? The overvaluation? I don't know what you want to call it, but again, we're gonna get to another accumulation phase, a more obvious one. But I would say that when Ethereum, the next time Ethereum's going up 2x in 2 weeks, just assume that the market is heated. Okay, assume that the market is heated. And remember, even back in 2017 and 2018, Ethereum was the last one to move, and it marked the end of it. So the next time, right? My guess, the next time we have an Ethereum tsunami is after Bitcoin's over 100K. So the next time we have that, like imagine a future scenario where Bitcoin goes to like 140K and then pulls back. It has a major pullback to 100K or something. And then you watch Ethereum go from like $5,000 to $10,000. Just know that's probably the end. It's probably the end. If it goes from 5K to 10K in 2 weeks, it's probably the end. Okay, I'm telling you now because you won't believe me when it happens. Okay, telling you now because again, you won't believe me when it happens. So if you see that happen later on in the cycle, then sort of expect it to be the end. Now you might say, well, does 10K have to be the top? No. If it's a slow grind to say $7,500 and then it does a 2x, maybe to $1,500, then maybe that's the end. But I would say if it's doing 2x in 2 weeks, then assume it's close to the end. Until then, I think we're just going to grind away for a while. We have a long way to go before Bitcoin's at 100K, but just now's the time to be getting your strategy in place for what you're going to do whenever it does get to those levels. Okay, I know when the market's bearish, it's easy to get discouraged. I understand, but I mean, just remember, I warned you guys, don't expect these crazy valuations in 2021. Don't expect them in 2021. I don't think Ethereum's going to put in a new all-time high in 2021. Okay, I just don't. I don't think 2021 is going to be when Ethereum puts in a new all-time high. Be flexible on it. I will say my hedge against being wrong is still owning some. Okay, so if I'm wrong and Ethereum goes to 10K this year, then my hedge against being wrong was still owning some. Would I have liked to have accumulated more? Yeah, but that's the hedge against being wrong. Okay, so let's see. Bitcoin is at 38.78. Ethereum's at 18.27. I mean, we're now below the 20-week with Ethereum. We'll see if Bitcoin ends up closing. The weekly closes now are putting, they're trending down as well. So, we had for a while, we had closed the line over here up at around, we had closed our weekly candles at around 34.6, 34.7. A couple weeks ago, we closed it slightly below. This one was even below it, and then this one's even come down even more. So it's not the most bullish sign, right? Could I do a free premium video? I don't know. I mean, I feel like the free stuff, the free premium videos are just the YouTube channel, right? Like I feel like I put a lot of work into it and show you guys a lot of custom charts. That's the free version. Can I bring CZ to the channel? I would love to bring him on the channel if he wants to come, but I have no way of. I don't think I have any good way of contacting him. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind bringing the CEO of Binance onto the show. I mean, you know, Binance Coin has done relatively well. This one I mean, this one, you know, I would say that Binance Coin sort of had like, you know, it had my peripheral attention back in 2019, 2020. I will say this: as we continue on, it has more of my attention. Okay, it has more of my attention now. Yeah, so I mean, if he wants to come on, I'll bring him on, but I don't know how to contact him. When will the stock to flow model be invalidated? I mean, you probably would have to ask the creator of the model. I don't really know. I mean, my thinking is that you know, like I've told you guys what I think where I think Bitcoin is headed, is, you know, it probably won't reach. It'll probably reach $100,000 to $200,000, but probably not in 2021. This is my guess. I could be wrong, but this is my guess. So with interpreting someone else's model being invalidated, I think they should be the one to interpret it, not me. Charles Hoskinson on the channel. I've messaged Charles in 2019, 2020, and 2021. I've never heard back, so um, I'm not as popular as you guys think I am. Let's see if Bitcoin's digging out of this hole now. Someone says, please no, I'll unsub. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Why does Michael Saylor think that Bitcoin is digital property? I mean, he went into a pretty long argument as to why he thought so. So I would just go watch the video, right? Go watch the video. With the recent advent of influencer coins, how do you feel about having the opportunity to make millions with this morally questionable action? Hey, I will not create any type of token like that. The only thing we've done is we did an NFT that we just gave away for free so far. That's all we've done. We just gave it away to the premium members. So, you know, I've seen some scams going on where people are pretending to be me and launching coins. Know that none of those are legit, right? None of those are legit. There was a Discord scam recently, I believe, where someone was pretending to be me and launching some like coin, pretending to be me. But yeah, they're all just scams. Yeah, there's enough shit coins in the space, right? I'm not going to create another one. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Do I sell 100% of my Bitcoin ever? No, I mean, no. I mean, I usually keep like a little bit. Like in this most recent run, I sold like 87% of the Bitcoin that was in the short term cap or the long term capital gains territory. But I still had 13% of it that was in long term capital gains, and then I still had everything that was still in short term. Like I don't really sell Bitcoin if I'm gonna have to pay short term capital gains tax on it, just because I don't want to pay like 40% or something. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always had at least had a little bit of Bitcoin, but it certainly varies depending on where we are in the cycle. All right, what other questions do we have? My lives keep jinxing the downtrend. No, I mean, if Bitcoin wants to hold 30K, let it hold 30K. I don't have any qualms with Bitcoin holding 30K. If it wants to hold it, let it hold it. Remember to give the video a thumbs up and also definitely subscribe. Let's go for 500,000 subscribers. We still need to go like another 19,000 subscribers or so. It's going to take us a while to get there, I think. Um, well, we've been almost going for an hour now. Chadwick says he doesn't like selling because of taxes. Yeah, it really does. The taxes do make everyone, it makes you reconsider making certain trades. Of course, this depends on what country you live in too, because not all countries have crypto. Not all countries make it so that crypto trades are taxable events. But yeah, in the United States they are. All right, let's see what other questions we have. What's better, Solana or Cardano? I mean, I think they're just both very different hedges, right? Um, I prefer Cardano, but Solana is one that I think is worth. It's not a bad project. It's actually really interesting what they're doing because they're at the expense of making it so that it's like terabytes and terabytes and like the blockchain and whatnot. Uh, at the expense of that, they basically make it so that you get really fast transaction time. So again, there's all trade-offs. Everything's like a trade-off. What makes me say the bear market could be 1 to 4 months long? Well, because I said it was 3 to 6 months long 2 months ago, and three to six minus 2 is 1 to 4. Am I really blue? No, it's just the bad lighting. Like I have, like there's like a window in front of me, so it's just the bad lighting. Why 3 to 6 months? Well, I mean, I generally said, like I said a long time ago, that I think that we were ahead of schedule, that we needed a lull in the market by looking at the market cycle ROI. This is just, and again, that doesn't mean new all-time highs in that amount of time, but I just was thinking we would be in a downtrend for a while. It reminds me of that song, I'm Blue. Actually, maybe it's just Blue. Maybe that was a song. Back in the 90s, right? Does anyone remember that song from the 90s? Someone asked if there's a possible relief rally coming. There's always a possible relief rally, right? Don't limit Bitcoin to not having relief rallies. Now it's in everyone's head. Adjust your camera light settings. Yeah, I know. I wanna adjust it, but not as much as I don't want to adjust it. I'll probably fix things in a few weeks, but I haven't done it yet. But I've been saying that for years, so I don't know why you would believe me. There's no difference between the different premium list options. Actually, where's that, do I still have that music? Where is that? I had like this little clip. Alright, I think this is it. You guys ready for, I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't know if you're ready for this. It's been a while since we've played this. Are you ready? This is my, well, he's now 5, but at the time he was 4. When he said this, and then my friend Ryan made a little tune for it. I think this is it. You ready?
Buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
I mean, there you have it. There you have it. Someone says it was too loud. Well, it is what it is. May everyone's ears rest in peace. Yeah, he did not say buy Litecoin. I'll tell you that. He did not say buy Litecoin. Hey, we haven't taken a dump on Litecoin in a while. Yeah. I mean, as we always, or this is Link. Let's click on Litecoin. As we always say, with Litecoin, it does nothing but bleed against Ethereum. I mean, look at this move. I mean, like, it's negative 90% against Ethereum. And that, I mean, it hasn't done it, and that's since mid 2019. That's over several years. I mean, if you're wanting to buy Litecoin, I would think again. I'd think again. And obviously that brings out the Litecoin haters. But I'm here to tell you that if you are a Litecoin believer, I believe the valuation of Litecoin will go up with time. It'll probably go to $1,000 one day. I just think that a lot of other cryptocurrencies will outperform it. So again, I don't really have any qualms against it. I think it probably will trend up with time, but other projects will probably trend up quicker. I don't think Bitcoin will go to 10K. No, I mean, look, every time Bitcoin goes down, everyone, there's always the perma bulls will then say, okay, it's going to go back down to the prices that it was at. Like, I don't think we're going to go back to 10K. Like, I don't, like, I've seen a lot of people call for like a 5K Bitcoin or a 6K or a 7K Bitcoin. Like, I don't think we're going to go back to those levels. I don't really think we have much chance of going back to those levels. The main... I mean, it's certainly possible we go below where we currently are, but I would not assume. I would not think that we're ever going to go back to 10K. I don't think Bitcoin will go to 10K. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm sure someone, you can point it out, but I really don't think it'll go back to 10K. 30K is already a pretty big discount from where it was. Maybe 20K, maybe slightly below 20K. It's hard for me to see it getting much worse than that. But yeah, I could see it going below 30. I mean, it's already been below 30, so I'm not really taking a huge risk. I mean, it's already been at 28. I have a hard time seeing it going to 10K, honestly. Like, I don't think that'll happen. Yeah, you get the trading view indicators on the premium list. Corrado says the ITC NFT is not showing on Ledger Live Solutions. I would just email, just go to the support, go to the website, and you can go to the contact page, and we'll figure it out. I don't think ADA is going to go to $5 by the end of the year. Like, I don't. Like, I really don't. I think that, honestly, like, if ADA is still above $1 by the end of the year, like, I'll be happy. If it's still above $1 by the end, because I'm just earning interest on my ADA. I don't really care what the price does, because I'm not really planning on selling any of it anytime soon at this point. If it's still above $1 by the end of the year, like, I would be happy. And I would count that as a win. I wouldn't assume it's going to go to $5 this year. Maybe next year, maybe 2023, but I wouldn't assume it's going to do it this year. When do I expect a golden cross? It's an interesting question. So the 50-day going back above the 200-day? Well, I mean, probably going to be a while, honestly. I mean, maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe by the end of the year. I would say the end of the year would be the most optimistic scenario. That's what I would say. I would say the end of the year would be the most optimistic scenario. Could also do something like this, and take even longer. This would put it out in, say, like early next year. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. See what we're at. We're at 481,977. So 23 more subscribers will be at 482. How about that? Yeah, I mean, I understand people want Ethereum to pump because of the update. I've been pretty steadfast in what I've said about, like, I have not changed what I've said about that. I said expect a summer lull, right? Expect a summer lull for Ethereum. 90-day ROI is not that great. The update's not going to do anything to the price. I don't really consider myself to be pessimistic. I just consider myself to be realistic, right? I feel like there's a difference. There's a difference between being realistic and being pessimistic. Do I think the stock to flow model becoming invalidated could ironically cause a dramatic market scare? Yeah, I mean, I think it could. I mean, like, I know there's a lot of people that believe that it's going to go to, like, 288,000 by the end of the year and whatnot. Maybe it would. I mean, maybe it would cause a sell-off if people think that it's maybe that's the sell-off we need to gear back up. I don't know. But, I mean, I think that regardless, I still remain somewhat neutral. But a nice capitulation would make me a lot more bullish. But right now, I think it's, yeah. I mean, I feel like right now I continue to lean neutral, bearish, right? I still contend that the market isn't going anywhere for months to come. We can have rallies to 40K, maybe to 45K, but I don't think we're going to be putting in new all-time highs in the next few months. So I would lean neutral, bearish for several, for at least a few more months. No, Ethereum's not about to go to 20K. No, it's not. If someone's telling you that Ethereum's about to go to 20K, yeah, I mean, it's not. Maybe in a few years, but I don't think Ethereum's about to go to 20K. Thoughts on Peter Schiff? Honestly, I'll tell you my thoughts on Peter Schiff. I think he's playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers when it comes to crypto Twitter and all he's doing, right? Like, all he's doing is he has his gold business. Okay, so think about it like this. If you're Peter Schiff, how do you grow your business? Well, what do? Well, you go to where the money is, right? Go to where the money is. And people have money, they want to invest. And if they invest in gold, then Peter makes money, right? So if you're Peter Schiff, how do you make money? Go to where the money is. The money's not, I mean, people are, crypto's going crazy, right? And he knows that phases will come when crypto will go down. And what he does is he capitalizes on it because he just talks trash about Bitcoin constantly, even though he probably believes it's going to trend up with time, but he will never admit that because he's sort of become the classic Bitcoin villain. But I think he's just got everyone sort of wrapped around his finger. Like, I think he just puts out these tweets because he knows they'll garnish attention, because that's what gets the followers. And then when the prices go down, he convinces people to go buy gold. And I'm not saying that you should never buy gold. I mean, having a little bit of the precious metals in your portfolio might not be a bad thing, but that's what he's doing, in my opinion. He's using fear to get people to follow him. And then he wants people to go buy gold so he gets richer. He's just playing everyone. And I mean, people just eat it up, right? So that's what he's doing. Right? That's what he's doing. He's not a dumb person by any stretch of the imagination. He's smart. He probably would admit behind closed doors that Bitcoin probably will trend up with time. But if he keeps playing the villain, he'll keep getting more followers, and more followers will probably has a direct correspondence to how many people he has buying gold under his umbrella. Therefore, he gets richer. That's what I think's happening. Yeah, no, his son is a big Bitcoin bull. Yeah, I interview Peter Schiff on the channel if he wants to come on. All right, guys, why don't we wrap it up there? I mean, the price of Bitcoin just hasn't really done anything for the last, hour and a half. Like we basically just been sitting right below $31,000. Obviously, we probably have a ways to go to show if it's going to hold the line to 30K. Yeah, I mean, let's maybe look at a minute chart and see what it's doing. So, it was trending down. It made a move up to around almost 31K, and then now it's come back down. But it hasn't really done anything remarkable since we've been on the stream. All right, why don't we wrap it up there? Remember, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. We also do have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com if you want to know how I'm navigating these markets. We also have a Telegram group if you wanna join the Telegram channel. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, click the bell icon to turn on your notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye.